I'm Shannon Thrasher, and this is 30-Second Tactics. We're back out on the range today. We're going to talk about accidental discharges. We're also going to talk about unintentional discharges, and is there a difference, and does the terminology make a difference? Me personally, when your gun goes off, when you didn't plan on it going off, I'm going to put that in one of three categories. Now, accidental discharge is what we talked about. You know, it's the terminology we used for decades until unintentional discharge came out. And it's just kind of a semantics thing. Accidents, you know, we use the term accident with vehicle accidents. Another thing, accident implies it's no one's fault. Well, a lot of times when your gun goes off and you didn't plan it on going off, it is your fault. So they came up with unintentional. I didn't intend for my gun to go bang, but it went bang. So the way I break them up into three categories, and it's just to help you understand it. If you think of it a different way, that doesn't hurt my feelings. But first you have an accidental discharge. There's literally an accident. Something went wrong. You didn't do anything wrong necessarily, but something went wrong. The common ones you'll see with that are the little athletic type jerseys and stuff that have little drawstrings, the jogging shoes and stuff. They have that little plastic drawstring at the side, and it's right next to the holster, and people will holster up, and that'll get stuck in there, and it'll push the trigger. Now, your finger wasn't on the trigger, you were pointing the gun in a safe direction, you know, down at the ground, not at your leg or anything. You're following all the safety rules, and it still happens. So to me, that's an accidental discharge. You did your part, and life happened. Now, if that happens when you're putting it in the gun bag and you're pointing it at your buddy at the range, that's not an accident, and that's not you following the rules. If this, you know, goes off as I'm putting it in the holster, it's pointing at the ground, it's going to go in. Now again, if I had a piece of clothing or my car keys or something up here that caught the trigger, that would be an accident. If I was dumb enough, and I'm not even going to do it to demonstrate it, but if I was dumb enough to have my finger inside the trigger guard and it caught the holster like that and pushed it back, that's unintentional, that's not an accident. I did something to help that happen. There's, of course, a negligent discharge, and that's what most of us think what most of us mean when we're thinking about accidental discharge. Of course, the ways you'll see that is people have their finger on the trigger when they're not supposed to. And I'm gonna put my ears on here. So if I'm up here and I'm about to shoot and I'm on sight and I put my finger on the trigger and I pull the trigger. I take my finger off the trigger either to reset if I'm gonna shoot again, or completely off the trigger if I'm done shooting for the moment. That's how it should work. But sometimes you have people that either aren't used to the gun or don't have good safety skills. They'll leave their finger on the trigger, they'll let it bounce, and you'll get that second shot on the range when you didn't intend it. Now, most of those people get away with because people standing next to them on the range or whatever, they didn't realize they didn't mean to double tap. It's kind of hard to fake it, especially on the big heavy Glock trigger, but I'm going to try to demonstrate it. That would be something like this, where you go to shoot and you shoot your first round, and then either the rocking of the gun or the bad finger discipline or whatever causes the second round to go off, and it'll look something like this, where I didn't intend for that to be a double tap, but my bad finger discipline caused it. Again, that one, kind of people get away with it because no one knows you didn't mean to fire that second shot except you. And they tend to be a little safer, if something dangerous can be safe, because the gun is usually pointed down range. Now you can search YouTube and find videos of people doing it, you know, with the gun down here and the gun over here and the gun over here. And I've even seen one where this poor lady shoots a Barrett 50 cal, the recoil knocks it off the table, she rides it down off the table trying to catch it, and it fires again like 5 feet from her. So it happens, be safe. Now, the third one I want to talk about is, you know, mechanical failure. You didn't do anything wrong, and you had the gun pointed down range, you had your finger off the trigger, and let's say you went to load the gun. Okay, let's say the slide was locked to the rear, you did everything right. You put the magazine in, fingers clear of the trigger, you drop the slide, and it goes bang. Now that's what we call a slam fire. If that happens to you, you might need to go to the restroom. That's all I'm saying. This is YouTube. I'm not going to get too graphic. It's a very surprising if that happens. But that's a mechanical failure. Something in the gun, the sear, the hammer, some part in the gun, depending on what kind of gun it is, has failed to do what it's supposed to do. A lot of times those race guns that are built up real fancy and real slick and real light triggers will do that. Now, I'm not talking about you put your finger on the trigger and it was a little lighter than you thought it was. That's an unintentional discharge. I'm talking about a mechanical failure. Now, another example of a mechanical failure would be, and again, I just unloaded this gun. See if you can hear. Okay, it's cocked. Now it's not cocked. Now it's cocked again. It's definitely. Now, if I were to drop this gun, making sure it's empty, but let's assume that it was loaded. And we can see that it did not fire, it did not drop the sear or the striker, see? Now, if it had fired, almost every modern gun, probably all modern guns and most not quite so modern guns, are designed to not fire when they're dropped. They have some sort of disconnect involved in there where shock won't cause them to fire. Now, if it's a failure in that system and it goes off, to me, that's a mechanical failure. Now, is there a big question? Why did you drop your gun? Yes, but that again, that's a mechanical failure. The gun is designed to do A and it does B. Another example, now this gun doesn't have a manual safety, like say a thumb safety or something, but another one that people will call a mechanical failure, and let's just assume this is like a 1911 and the thumb safety is up in the safe position and I'm just playing around and pressing the trigger and it fires with the safety on. And I say, oh my gosh, this is a mechanical failure. Why is this gun firing with the safety on? Well, yeah, you're right. But you know what else? Why are you pressing the trigger when it's loaded and you're not ready to fire? If your finger is on the trigger, unless you're doing dry fire drills, if your finger is on the trigger, ready to shoot, when you're not ready to shoot, that's on you. That's an unintentional discharge. That's you doing something that made the gun fire. Did the safety fail? Yeah, sure. Well, safeties fail, okay? Because we wear a seatbelt. Do we drive 200 miles an hour? Some of you do. Don't answer that. So a safety is there to help. It's not there to do your job for you. All right, guys. So like I said, that's my take on accidental discharge, which is usually beyond your control. Unintentional discharge. You did something stupid and violated the safety rules and it resulted in the gun firing when you weren't supposed to. And a mechanical failure where you didn't do anything wrong, the gun still fired because some part of the gun, somewhere in the system that's designed to make it not fire until you're ready, didn't do its job. Okay, guys, so that's what I have for you this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do all the regular YouTube stuff, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, tell your friends and neighbors, get us a bunch of subs, and get in the comment section, tell me what you want to see. If you hated this video, say, hey, I'd rather see this instead. If you love this video, let me know. We'll keep going as long as you guys want it. So, as always, guys, work, train, repeat. Stay safe.